Characters. You like them, I like them, we both love them. Sit down, friend, old chum. You seem to have found me at an awkward time. I know it looks bad, pilfering through these forgotten tomes and filching these sacred texts. I assure you, my interests are purely academic. But I shall take a moment from my grave robbing to impart some wisdom, if you don't mind. I have a flask of lemon beer and some bread from outside the City of Adventurers. It's simple, but should be good enough for this conversation. Have you ever been? It's a lovely place. A drink. I shall be contented myself with my lime and ginger. Copper cups are of wondrous finery, aren't they? I see you have a story to tell, or a hungry fascination. And what is the backbone of all stories? The characters, my friend, characters. So let us talk about them, some techniques and secrets in their creation. Now, firstly, I want to state that there are a hell of a lot of techniques and routes that one can use to build an effective character, especially when we take into account the different mediums that exist. But I think there are more than a few through lines that we can take. And to prove my point exactly, we are going to talk about something that I haven't yet had the opportunity to talk about, and that is the animatic YouTube series Little Pickle Town, created by Anana and Lenabin. You guys know me, Miserable Mariner, the edgy guy who likes Berserk, Made to Biz, Tokyo Ghoul, Attack on Titan, everything with an alien in it. But every so often, my cold, withered heart likes to feel a bit of sunshine on it. And Little Pickle Town is one of those things that I normally wouldn't find much interest in. Maybe I saw it at the right time, maybe I was in the right state of mind, who knows. It's a smaller project that I think displays genuine human compassion. What is that you say? What is it? What is this thing I'm talking about? It's a series of YouTube videos, animatic YouTube videos, played to music. That's it. It's pretty short, but when it comes to a speedrun on how to craft characters, there really is a lot we can learn. So, because of its medium, Little Pickle Town cannot rely on longer time spent with the characters. You don't have high page counts or long run time or anything like that. You have episodes that, at max, are about 5 minutes, and most are much shorter. And yet, if you peruse through the comments of these videos, you got people absolutely freaking out over the characters in them. How is this possible? Now, sure, everyone loves a good character design, but I think there is more than just that going on here. I think there is perspective. But to talk about that, I need to talk a little bit about the plot and world of the town first. From what I can gather, the story is set within the abstract vignette idea of a small town, a place where the colors are a bit brighter and the world a bit kinder. The story to me seems to be about people with cracks or missing parts attempting to heal in a warm place with people like them. It's simple, yes, but execution is everything. It's a slice of lifestyle story about trying to move on from past shadows. So then, how is it exactly that these characters inspire such fanatic interest with such little time? The answer here is perspective. Each of the videos is told from one of the characters' perspective, and because of the limited amount of time for each episode, the maximum amount of characterization has to be extracted from the minimum amount of presence. For instance, depending on the level of damage and fear, the editing style for each of the videos changes slightly. Whenever there is a video from Io's perspective, there is ever so often a slashing style of editing and cutting. Its frantic nature builds anxiety and panic, which is fitting for someone whose expectations have driven them to attacks of fear and anxiety. The fear driving Io to cut herself off from others, even if it's in her best interest. Milo, as someone who has a more stable sense of self than some of the other characters, often has a more stable style of editing and art. Rarely do things get more abstract or unsettling. He has fears, yes. He is antisocial, yes. He gets into fights, yes. But he has a concrete sense of self. His fears are often external, worrying about his uncle, worrying about if the girl he likes him, and so on. But where things get really odd in terms of the editing area are for the characters of Nikolai and Monaco. Functionally, there is no function. Gonna be honest, it feels like neither of these two are holding themselves together so well, but maybe that's just me. Nikolai dresses like a neglectful parent, does the self-harm, it's not good. Whenever he appears in another's perspective, it's always to be the cool guy. He's got himself under control, he's level-headed, he is a stable stone in tempest winds. But when you get a video from his perspective, it almost always seems more than anything that he is alone. He spends long periods of time in his room, he seems disconnected when out and about. The way he views himself is not even at all how others view him. Monaco's situation is a little different. She lives a lot in her head and has troubles with identity and expression. Her sense of self is fuzzy. fluid. She has an imaginary friend built up from fear. She wants real human connection, but the irrational terror of judgment keeps her from that. Her videos are almost more internal than external. What goes on in that head of hers, who she talks to, what she looks like at a given time. It's weird and complicated, and I don't fully understand all of what's going on. So, what have we learned about characters, my friend? It's uniqueness of perspective. When we move perspectives, it's not just that they are a little different and want to do different things, it's that their very experience of the world itself is altered and changed. Their attentions can be drawn to very different things. The air could taste sweeter or more bitter. The color red can be vibrant or morose and rusted like old blood. Building characters that people love starts from the way the character experiences the world themselves. Writing, at the best of times, dissolves the empathy barrier, and with that you can do some really fascinating tricks. What's healthy and valued by one can be poisonous or worthless to another. But I think there's more than that we can learn from Little Pickle Town than just that. And what is that, my friend? Yes, if you are building a character, then you have to build their relationships with the others around them. Platonic friends, lovers, rivals, antagonistic torturers, and so on and so forth. I have seen many build an interesting character, but sometimes those characters can fall flat because of how flat their dynamics or relationships with others are. Humans don't exist in a void, no man is an island, and all that. Now, realistically, it will be a little bit difficult to talk about the more antagonistic kinds of relationships and character dynamics through the lens of LPT, so I'm mainly going to focus on the more positive ones here. Functionally, good character relationships require characters at rest. What is that, you ask? It's in essence when the grander plot takes a break. This is what slice of lifestyle stories thrive off of. There are no grand plots, and so this gives the writer time to just let the characters hang out and do stuff. What do characters do under pressure when there are consequences and a price is interesting, but something that can be just as useful is what characters do when there are no kaiju destroying the city or dark lords seeking domination of all that lives. Things get really interesting if you can juggle both, which is something the Wandering Inn thrives off of. In addition, LPT is a tale that personifies the hedgehog's dilemma, which is always a good tool to use when building characters. Evangelion is another story where the hedgehog dilemma is ever present. What is it, you ask? It, in essence, states that humans seek connection, warmth, intimacy. They want to be closer to one another. But conversely, the closer we get to each other, the more capable we are of hurting each other and ourselves. The worst pains in the world rarely come from external forces in our lives, but from those close enough that their spines prick, pierce, and stab. Monoko likes Nikolai, she gets closer, and when she gets close enough to see his tendencies toward self-harm, prick, pierce, stab. Milo wants to invite Ai over for his birthday, especially as one of the few humans who he can actually stand. He actually likes her quite a lot, but another panic attack from her, and prick, pierce, stab. Do I even need to talk about the Uncle Fran history? Do I? Do I really? Prick, pierce, stab. You get my point. You can invert tone with this also. If you have used a set of tools for long enough, inverting them can be especially potent for moments when a character's reality is changed. See the Monoko Nikolai thing, for example. And for relationships more romantic, you must remember that man or woman is not some chalice or crown to be earned or gained. I mean, you can do that, some stories do. But the best kinds of romantic subplots are ones that put character psychology first. A relationship is not a thing where one side devours, conquers, and dominates the other. I mean, it is, if you want to write something like that, but I digress. A really good romantic plot point is when both characters fully bloom, not one interested while the other is some far-off, perfect marble sculpture. The people view it through their own eyes and minds, trying to figure out the other person whom they care for, but inevitably, fear doesn't feel the same way. It is an attempt to get closer, but the closer you get, the pointier the thorns. And there are so many ways this can be done, and I think that's a great part about the best kind of these sorts of plots, when it's two people mutually trying to figure it out and dealing with all the anxieties, fears, and passions of that part of life. But I think that's also what makes LPT special. Even if it's not something I would classically like, I still think it's worth talking about. There can be a lot to be learned and gained from examining stories that others love, but we ourselves don't necessarily. You can really, truly learn a lot about someone from the stories they love and the reasons they love them, as well as the ones they hate and the reasons for that as well. LPT is another one of those projects where you can just feel the enthusiasm and passion spilling over, where love and care and humanity has been imbued into sound and digital ink and brought drawings to life on the screen before you. And even if you aren't interested in checking it out, at least remember the little lessons that we can draw from it. Now, something I wanted to mention, anytime I talk about my own life in these videos, it's always because I want to articulate a point, not because I just want to talk about myself. I'd much rather have the writing just stand on its own. And I think there is another case, this is another case, one of those cases here for LPT where I can't exactly get my point across without going through some preamble of personal experience. Anyway, I don't fully understand people. I understand them on paper, yes, in a kind of abstract and logical sense, but even then, a lot of the behavior of people confuses me. But it's also true that people are fun and interesting, frustrating and mind-numbingly infuriating, yes, but so much more than just that. When a human writes a story, I feel that I can understand them and the world a little better. It's a kind of connection, especially when it's strange, original, or unique. So maybe while I am not LPT's target audience, I still feel something stir in this sad, sad heart of mine when I view it, at least at times, because I have been there. Once, I had a panic attack alone in the desert with no one there to care or see. I just lay on my back, wishing that it would either stop or just kill me. I've laid awake at night, hating myself for sending some idiotic text to a girl I like or staring at one she sends back for 20 minutes at a time, trying to piece together the right words because somehow, some way, there must be some combination of human words which will let her know how I feel. Sometimes I feel fuzzy, like the definitions of my sense of self have gone fluid. I look in the mirror, wondering what exactly is that thing staring back from those eyes lodged in that skull. That's what it's about. You draw from yourself, but you also draw equally from the world around you. The birds and the beasts and the juniper trees which lay wound and bound across red rock expanse and the earth about. But do you hear that old sport? It's the old pocket watch ringing in the gloom. It seems our time is up. I must be off. Not good if the custodians see what I have snatched from this dismal cyclopean library. Plus, I have a festival in a small town to see, and I don't intend to miss it. And I recommend you get going too. You have a story to tell, don't you? Fear not, I imagine we shall see each other again, though I can't say where or when. Take care of yourself. I'll see you when I see you. Hey people, thanks for watching. So I'm gonna be making a few more of these writing advice videos, and I kind of thought it'd be a good idea to break them down through the lens of stories, but not necessarily like the big, massive ones. Like, you know, everyone's made a Joe Abercrombie character writing advice video, and I thought it'd be interesting to draw from some like more small or indie projects with like less people working on them or less like well-known stuff, because I think that kind of can articulate the point of like, oh yeah, you can do this. Like, you can go out there and you can do it. Like, nothing's necessarily stopping you, right? And I think it's a really cool thing when you see someone who isn't like some like far off abstract kind of like idea of a person because of how well they're known, right? And something more like, hey, I just made this and threw it out there on the internet, right? So I'm gonna be going over a few more of those things. I think we're gonna do the world building video next. But if you guys want something else, just let me know. Yell at me if you think this is stupid. You know, do whatever you want. Like and subscribe, do the thing, you know the thing, and I'll see you. Have a good day, people.